I read somewhere that if you pet your seedlings every day, you simulate wind.
Really?
Therefore making them stronger. I don't know. But it's a good excuse to pet your seedlings.
Guys, we need to rescue Alyssa from the internet. Pretty dry. It's got a couple of wannabe sprouts on it though. It's trying. Got to get it in some water though. Should we test the pH of this stuff to see where it's at?
I think we should. I'm just curious.
Well, I know the raspberries kind of have like a more acidic preference, so.
I think so, yeah. Not too worried about it, but I did get a soil pH tester.
Ha ha ha. Why don't we have fun with it?
So the tester I got tests the pH, phosphorus, nitrogen, and potash. What is potash?
Potash.
Potash. Potash.
Right.
I don't know, what is that?
Potash is just what it sounds like. I think it's ash. I got a water test kit for the well that was pure junk. So here's hoping this is not junk.
I think it'll test the pH okay.
pH is pretty easy to test, but as far as like a soil sample, well, let's just see.
I'm gonna not read the instructions, go out on a limb, and assume green goes with green.
Yeah, what the heck? This is gonna be interesting. I've never seen a pH tester like this before. Usually they're just strips and you just stick it in there and it pH tests it. It's a reasonable sample size.
I'm having gardener anxiety that all the seeds we planted aren't gonna germinate because I feel like after a couple of days the surface soil feels really dry, but Jesse's telling me don't worry, the beds are actually quite moist and the moisture is wicking up through the soil. So out of panic I turned our soaker system on and now I'm worrying because I don't visually see our rows of seeds getting wet. So I'm gonna fight the urge to manually water these and just give them a week or something, maybe 2 weeks, and see if they sprout on their own. When we tested the seeds, we checked after 14 days and everything had pretty much germinated, so just 2 weeks is a long time.
I think they're good. I mean, maybe check in the morning. It's not really a fair time of day to be checking soil for moisture content. Fill with soil, fill with water.
That's why we shouldn't read instructions, because the instructions are wrong.
Oops.
So,
okay.
Let's redo that.
Well, we can just put, I mean, this is already done. Might as well just pour it in there, huh?
So far I feel like this test is a ridiculous test because the soil sample's like nothing, it's like a sneeze.
We could have been done with a pH test a long time ago.
Is that fizzling?
I don't know.
So it says let it, shake it and let it sit about a minute. It's looking green to me. Kinda. Might be hard to tell on camera.
This side over here is looking quite green. I don't know if you can see that.
I'd actually say it's looking neutral.
Yeah, it's not really a vivid green. It's kind of in that spectrum, maybe 6.5 to 7 maybe.
So I guess for the sake of not overthinking things, we're gonna plant our raspberries anyways, but then we might water with, what were you researching, like a vinegar solution or something?
Horticulturist vinegar, which I think is just vinegar. I don't know what's special about it, but yeah, we can use it to bring the pH of the soil down. And we'll have to figure out like how much to use, but I think we'll just see what the raspberries want, you know? And we can kind of test the pH again later.
Yep.
I mean, what I love and hate about these tests is like the difference between 6.5 and 7 is almost really hard to tell with these tests.
Well,
like,
it's like, certainly not rock, I mean, it's not an exact science. It's just a very cheap home kit to get a rough idea of what your soil's looking like.
That's it. Yep.
It's probably good for one, you know?
I agree.
Not that deep, probably.
pretty good there.
Let's try that.
Yep, let the dirt come back on it.
I think we could pull it up because I don't think we want to cover all this.
So about there.
So yeah, if you hold
Okay,
it there,
got
maybe.
it. Just push the dirt at the bottom. There you go. Good.
This one we might be able to fit together.
Yeah.
Did you fit the second one in there?
Yeah, let's just put that guy in there. It'll get some deeper roots once it gets going. Gonna leave it there. We might even be able to kind of just support them a little bit, maybe. And then where do we want this one? Right next to it?
I'd say next to it, yep. Nice.
That'll work. Look like some pretty happy raspberry bushes. I think we're gonna try to put some of this really fine deer mesh on the outside here to keep their little tongues from coming through the fence. Because we want our raspberries.
Yep. The heck is the keyhole on this thing? So it is hiding. It's not in there.
Open the door, silly goose.
I had it open, but apparently it locks back there.
Yeah.
There we go.
And there's a latch right here to
Gotcha.
unlock it.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Pushing it up. Maybe go push out there. Go reach out there and pull it back. Good.
Good enough?
A little more. Good. So there's a button on the dash.
Do what?
You need to open the thumb. All the way open. There you go. So now just try to pull that out. What you want to do is put your blade down. Try to pull it to the blade to scoop it up. I don't want to get in the way of you learning, but with a situation like that, you're going to have to boom out and scoop. Because if you just scoop, it's all going to fall out of your scoop. Nice work.
It's rough.
That's Compost 1.0, now history.
It looks
Pretty
better,
exciting.
doesn't it?
It does. Well, now we can kind of go crazy with compost. Like those bins at first seemed like a great idea, but in hindsight they were very like restricting. It's like I need my compost right here.
We want these like constraints, you know,
Yeah.
these boundaries.
It feels good.
But like it's not doing anything. It was sort of containing the small stuff, but now that we have equipment, I feel like we could compost them by the yard or compost materials, right?
Right, well we had to go get compost and we've been trying to make compost, but we're just not keeping up because we can't, that's never gonna work.
No,
like,
and it's hard to make it a tiny bucket at a time. Like if
Right.
we're gonna have a garden of this size and we want to do compost every year,
Right.
we need to have a lot more. Like we need a yard of compost every year, and that's composted.
Right.
That's not starting with a yard of bare material, which is like what we were doing, and then you end up with like
pretty much nothing. Like it's amazing how much it compacts down to nothing. Cool, so if you want to put this away, backhoe's ready to go, we can go get material.
Let's do it.
It seems like everything around here is just kind of getting a facelift. as it pertains to the garden this year. Alyssa put so much time and energy into planning it and executing it, and everything's been going really well, but we're still trying to figure out the whole self-reliance portion of gardening. And although obviously we bought a rock pit and we're never going to have our own soil, there's no reason we can't be building compost and good mulch for the garden. It's taken us a long time to find the raw materials. One of the struggles that we had was finding things that didn't have pesticides and stuff. We did get some grass from a neighbor, and they weren't 100% sure if they sprayed pesticides on it or herbicides. And so we decided ultimately it's just not worth putting it in the garden. What a tragedy it would be after all this planning to lose the garden because we're unsure. But we're slowly getting our own raw material. We've got all the sawdust from the sawmill, which is still valuable, but it needs to be added to a few other things. We've got a couple of neighbors that have livestock or farm animals, and they are allowing us access to the manure. It doesn't make any sense to bring that stuff in by the wheelbarrow. We can go with the backhoe with equipment and bring it back here, but the compost bins didn't make any sense because turning the compost periodically is highly laborious for a small amount of compost.
Not to mention dumping it in by the yard didn't make sense in those buckets or in those pallets.
No, because then you have to turn it over.
And you have a huge pallet in the way. And if you dump a yard of manure in a yard of sawdust, now there is no way to turn it. But if you could just take the bucket and, like, you know,
move it around, push it, pull it, push it, pull it. Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's the plan today, is to take advantage of some of this raw material. Obviously we've already got the garden pretty much set up for the year, so we don't really need the compost now.
We're so ahead of our garden that we're already thinking about next year. Like, we want stuff composting now, right? So
yeah,
you don't compost this year for this year.
No, and I think the idea here is not to compost just enough. It's to get a big pile that we can draw off of, just like the mulch over there. We got access to that. We'll keep building on that pile because it's never going to go to waste. If anything, it composts down to where it becomes dirt or organic material, and we can use it for planting too. So slowly, just like all these reclaimed materials and the boneyard and the sawmill boneyard and all that stuff, we're just getting material here. And that way, when it's like, hey, do you want to go plant the garden? Yeah, let's go plant the garden. Instead of, hey, let's go get the trailer, the truck, we'll drive a bunch of miles, get the checkbook out and pay someone. Although we did, in full disclosure, buy a rock pit. We'd rather have the view than have to deal with fertile
we've
soil.
talked about filtering our soil for the garden, but like, we want a garden in the next decade.
Yeah.
So we're okay just bringing soil in, but
it really, in the spectrum of life, it's inconsequential. But I think we can start making a lot of our own compost and rich organic mulch and stuff like that. So, all right, you ready to go? Backhoe's ready to go.
Let's do it.
I did bring the wood ash.
Okay.
We're hoping to spread that on a neighbor's raspberry bushes, so I think that's ready to go. You got your gloves?
I'll get gloves.
All right, we're out of here. Wait, we should probably grab a shovel.
How are my oatmeal bars?
Pretty dang good, especially when you're hungry.
Yep, especially when it's a dinner substitute. I thought we built a little basket to set like our water and our snacks.
Right?
Do you want to hold that? Yeah, it's weird to go from the excavator to this, right?
Right.
I feel very disoriented.
Uh-oh.
So I'm in car mode.
Did you hear that, guys? That's not good.
Better not start flying. Then we'll have two confused monkeys. Last time we did this, it was snowing.
Yeah, my face was freezing. So yeah, you just want to get right where the bucket's level, and we're just going to take it right off the top and just keep pushing until you get a big berm in front of the bucket. I'll shovel it in the bucket, then you can scoop it up.
Did we tilt the bucket forward and backtrack?
We did, because we couldn't do what we're doing now.
Gotcha.
You're driving on what we got last time.
Right.
I want you to go just a little bit past level, just a little bit of an edge. Go a little bit more, about there, and then lift up, about there. Tilt a little bit forward. Good. Yeah, just tilt your bucket back a little bit. Good.
Well, that looks like some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Huh?
It's hard to tell. I know it's packed under here. It's just dry.
Yeah.
We good? Round one?
Round one. There's another round. So I say we take
Let's
this
get
back.
moving.
Yeah. And
I'm getting hungry, so let's get moving. Do we want to look at the sawdust now?
yeah, let's look at it on our way by.
Okay.
You can kind of see a big pile back there. We can check on that later. We have so much sawdust at the house.
Yeah, I say use ours, but it's good that it's here because we can always fix it.
Yeah.
I think that's good. That's about the equivalent of what we got, but while you're here, I guess.
Yeah, I'll get 2 more buckets.
I say just go together to get one more load. Like that'll be quick to mix.
Want to go together?
I'd rather, yeah.
Okay.
She fits. That's mostly hay.
Okay.
As in we don't want like too much sawdust and hay. So I say like still get it, just keep that in mind. Oh yeah. This stuff's good. Never mind. Sorry, we just covered your ball. Yeah, it's crazy. It smells like a hot springs.
Yeah, it smells amazing. That's mostly hay right there.
Yep. Most all of this is hay too.
Okay.
We're thinking give this a quick mix and see where we're at before adding more sawdust. We have plenty of sawdust. Getting the manure here is the challenging part. Oh yeah. This, my friends, is next year's produce. Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty good mix.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't add any more sawdust.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
We'll have to get more manure, then we can add more sawdust.
Yeah. This year we actually didn't add any compost to our beds. we added manure, it was pretty aged, directly to our beds in fall. I think there's many ways to skin a cat. The only way to strengthen your garden soil isn't to make a compost pile and add compost. We were adding our kitchen scraps directly to our raised beds over the winter. Other people do something what's called lasagna gardening, and it's the idea of composting in your beds directly. Maybe not during the growing season, but maybe in winter you add on your layer of carbon and your layer of nitrogen, and it just decomposes right in your bed. But it is nice to have the space to have this huge compost pile heap and bring material in by the yard. Way easier than doing this with a shovel. Right?
That would have taken a long time with a shovel. That's pretty good, huh?
I'm very happy with that. That's a good afternoons or evenings
I feel like it's so funny. This pile is probably like 4 times what we had in the bins, but it feels like a tiny pile. I feel like I'm just playing. I'm playing compost.
It does feel like a tiny pile.
We need to. This pile needs to get big. Like, we need like 3 times as much. Because when we're all done, that's how much we'll have left.
I want to come out and see it steaming, right?
Yeah, we want to come out in the winter and have like this compost pile that won't get snow on it.
That's awesome. I'm gonna feel silly putting our kitchen scraps in here now by like the quart jar.
Well, it'll help, right? And it doesn't go to waste. It's going to go in the garden eventually.
Yeah.
Feels like we're finally getting ahead on the garden, sort of.
It does. I feel like for the past 3 years, we've been reacting to everything around us and just like barely getting things done in the nick of time. Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like we're a month out from putting our transplants in.
Yep.
And those are all growing away in the house, and now we're able to focus our energies on better things.
Yeah, it's like a system, and I think at first we sucked because of a lot of reasons, and then like last year it went better, and this year it's better. It feels good also to be working on more permanent things. I feel like this garden's kind of becoming like a real anchor on the property, and I think with the food preservation skills, the garden, the tools to bring large amounts of material here, with the boneyard, like it feels right to have all this stuff like here so we can just garden and we're self-sufficient sort of.
I was gonna say, I feel like everything's a system.
It is.
We're never working on one thing. We're always thinking, how do I do this today, but also make it easier in the future? And that's one reason why this compost project is a big deal. Ironically, just removing the pallets is creating a system for us to bring compost in and be able to churn it.
Well, and this garden wouldn't be possible without the water system. And all the food that we're creating in this garden wouldn't be worth anything without the house and the refrigeration and the ability to preserve it and store it without freezing. So it's like little by little, we're finally getting like systems for everything. And of course, it took us a long time to get the wood and we had to go buy the soil. But now I feel like we're getting a system to have our own soil, like to become our own soil factory.
Exactly.
So at some point here, we'll have sawdust, mulch, lumber, a garden, like rock, you know, everything on the property to just build and do whatever we want.
And as we produce waste materials, now we already know, like, they're pre-used.
Right.
So we've talked about doing a property cleanup day where we maybe thin a bunch of saplings and stuff and renting a wood chipper, because we've already done that.
Yep.
You know, now we're talking about, I don't know, I guess, have a plan for everything. Where before we just like, we didn't know what we wanted to do with it, so we just pile things up. It takes a lot of time to go through this property cleanup, I think.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I love this area, or just areas like this, I'll just say that because this isn't the only one in the world. There's many communities that are like this. If you aren't using something and someone notices it,
They will use it.
expect a bunch of door knocks because they're like, are you going to use that? Are you going to use
So
that?
much so that when there's like wood laying around in town, people put up caution tape.
And a no
So
trespassing
no one
sign.
touches it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how resourceful people are around here, and I love it.
If a log is laying on the ground for more than a week, somebody's going to come cut it up because
Yep.
they need firewood or
Yeah,
whatever.
That's beautiful. Like nothing goes to waste.
Yeah, if you see wood chips on the side of the road, they're going to be gone tomorrow. So you better it's
Better
like
call
all
now.
yeah, first come first serve. And it feels good to finally have kind of the connections too to get these resources because we don't have manure.
It takes time.
We do have sawdust, so it all takes time. And I feel like after 4 years, we're getting there.
Yep.
We're finally there. It's happening. Do you think that your anxiety about the watering has diminished at all, seeing what's happening with this? Because
You
we only
know-
ran this for 45 minutes.
Not entirely, because some of our rows still aren't wet.
But we only watered it for 45 minutes.
Right. You asked me if my anxiety's gone, and I said no.
Oh, that's true. Fair enough. You answered my question.
Yep.
All right, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to get Alyssa up bright and early in the morning.
Hold on.
What?
Whoa. Hold on.
Wait.
Look.
What?
Tell me that's not arugula. Is that arugula? It's in a row and it's
Guys.
green.
Okay, hold on.
It's in a row and it's green.
How's your anxiety about our plants getting water now?
I still have anxiety because this
awesome.
was after like the big rainstorm.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
I'm gonna have anxiety until everything sprouts.
Right. Alyssa has gardener anxiety. Yeah,
But
look
that's
at all that.
totally arugula.
It is. Bingo.
The
There's
romaine.
a bunch right there. Right
Yep.
there. Oh yeah.
One of my favorite salads is arugula,
Mm-hmm.
butternut squash,
Yeah.
pomegranate with like a mustard maple syrup dressing.
Holy
it's
smokes.
a fall salad, but like
It's a little
yes.
rough mentioning that around dinner time.
Whew, we should do something about
I
that.
think it's time to eat. But I think we probably better let this arugula grow up a little
Can you
bit
see it
before
on the
we
camera?
pick it. Oh heck yeah.
Wow, that makes me really happy.
It's a little bit small right now.
It's itsy bitsy.
Coming soon, guys. Coming soon.
I never would have saw that, would you?
No, but once the sun went down, I think we're good.
Proof.
Oh, and if anybody needs any chives,
We're good. We got 'em.
we'll be sending chives out soon. This thing's going gangbusters.